Hello, everyone. Today is September 8th, and this is our fifth part in our increased profitability by working with law firms. My friend and co-host here, Lauren Fogelman, is here. She'll introduce herself more formally in a minute. I'm Jonathan Fishman, the CEO and one of the founders here at Lien Law, and we're excited for today's conversation. I have a really brief kind of introduction here. So it's interesting, my little headline. I have a knack for translating interesting market conditions. I don't know who wrote that. Just a few announcements before we get into today's topic. We're going to deep dive in just a moment in the subject matter, but I want to kind of cover a few things lien law related. So we have our monthly master class. If you want to learn about lien law and you want to learn about servicing a law firm from a technical standpoint, you should attend these meetings. Our CFO, our head of product, and one of our leaders in our customer success lead these fantastic 1-hour webinars that talk not just about our tools, but talk about how these tools facilitate how law firms operate. And there are both law firm operators in there to learn and ask questions or hear them ask questions, and other accounting professionals. And I'm going to bring this over, which is kind of a second announcement. And I've got this. This is since we've last met, have launched a new Lien Law website. So I'm just happy to be in the blog. You can see I'm in blog Lien Law speaker series. This is, I just shared with the group, but this is the series that Lauren and I have been working on all year. And you will see today we're on number 8 with video recaps of all the previous meetings. And that link was just posted in there. But here's our new website. And what's material to you folks is under resources. Oh God, I can remember a blog. There it is. We have a slew of really great content now online, both things that are material to servicing law firms like trust accounting, but also, higher level concepts, compensation tracking, and including those master classes that I just talked about. So all of those videos are accessible here in our blogs. And what's also been super cool with our new website is that we've done, I believe I can find them here. These are all the features of lien law. Where are they? Case studies. Maybe they're under resources. Sorry, I should know this by. There they are. Case studies. These are live clients that we've gone through and done real case studies, really short but precise reads on very specific topics from real lien law clients. So another resource. And again, that's just lien law resources case studies. And then within case studies, we have our blog posts. And under blog posts, we have lots of content, plus the link I just showed you. So we're really excited about our new website. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, let me go back to my little deck here, is a tech update. So we've got some exciting things happening technologically at Lien Law. And I just wanted to kind of show 2 things really quickly. The first, which I'm most excited about, this is a monumental new effort for Lien Law, is that we're taking ownership of sending the email that houses the invoice. And the why behind that is we want to solve the problem of the tension that typically exists between law firm and law firm client around money. And the first thing is to deliver the invoice with a stylized interface that allows customization around the data points that are most important to the law firm. So this is the beginning of 6. We have 5 more modules that you'll start to see, like trust accounts and statements, leads. We'll have hours worked, different modules that the law firms can then sort of piece together to create the story that they want to tell to their clients around that invoice. Now, the invoice will be attached, and that'll be still the same QuickBooks invoice, and it's still synced with QuickBooks. So the chart of accounts and the source of truth is all intact. We're not going to mess with any accounting. What we're doing is optimizing the way that folks can send that invoice, and then of course set up automations downstream to do reminders and things of that nature. This is all a very first step in a much larger effort by Lien Law to align law firm and law firm clients around money, to make sure that we mitigate tension, increase cash flow, and take the hassle factor away from paying it, and go, candidly, paperless, no more checks. So that's one major improvement. And then the second, and by the way, if anyone has any questions, just post them in the chat. We're here to support. We've done some nifty things with our compensation report, and specifically here they go to reports. We modified how we handle this allocation. And the big piece here is that we've made some pretty colors here so you can kind of see how compensation is tracked is divvy, but it's really this. How do we divvy up the working attorney? And what that translates to is now if I go into a client or matter when it comes to contracting, where we say who originated the work, meaning who brought it in, what compensation did they get? But now there's even more flexibility around, well, how are we divvying up the working percentage? So if you, to remind you, Lien Law can do comp tracking at the firm level, the user level, the client level, and the matter level. So we used to just have matter level origination customization. Now we have matter level working and customization, and originating in the product and live. So it's just another tool in the toolkit as we go in and service these law firms to give them flexibility in how they set up their compensation tracking, which is one of the #1 features that folks look for. We have a new working lunch scheduled for October 19th. If you're interested in participating in that, just holler and we'll get you the information for that. Or if you're on this list, I think you'll get notified of it. And lastly, long in the works is a new referral program. So we are updating the tools and instruments that we want to give to the accounting folks to refer Lien Law and also compensate them. So that's something that's been in the works for a while and that's coming online shortly. All right, enough with the Lien Law stuff and let's talk about Lauren. So we're just to check in where we're at. Today's conversation is boost your revenues through advisory services. And so that's our topic today. Now, we last had a very productive conversation. What was it, a month ago? I don't know the date, but sometime in August, I think it was, about winning new clients even when you don't enjoy the sales part. So today we're talking now more about boosting those advisory services. So before we get into this, Lauren, why don't you just introduce yourself to the community and tell us a little bit about your background and why you're such an excellent voice in advocating for coaching accounting professionals.
Thank you. First of all, the changes that you've made to your website are amazing. Love what you've been doing to really just help accounting professionals and law firms really be able to get more of a handle on their financials. But a little bit about me is I'm a sports psychologist turned business coach. And what I have found is that my education gave me all the tools, the skills to be able to do what I do really, really well. But they also trained me to be an employee working for somebody else as opposed to a business owner or entrepreneur, because there were 3 gaps that I had to fill and figure out on my own. One was how to be able to communicate my value, especially when it comes to networking, marketing, because it was something that I just didn't know how to do. And I was originally going about it the wrong way. It was just working against me in the beginning until I was able to get those right words that attracted the right people to me. The second thing after communicating my value was how to be able to price my services when I didn't want to charge an hourly rate. So that's why I had to figure out other pricing strategies aside from my hourly rate and be able to understand how to apply those. And that's where I now show accounting professionals how to do value pricing in order to be able to actually increase your revenues 2 to 3 times more without working any additional hours. And then the third thing is how to enroll new clients when I didn't like the sales part. I don't want to pressure anybody into working with me. And that's where I figured out how to have what I call a value conversation, where you're asking great questions that naturally highlight the reason that they ought to be signing up with you and engaging your services instead of going with a different option. And that's what I found works for accounting professionals also, is communicating value, how to be able to price your services so you're not trading time for money. And then the third thing is how to enroll new clients when you might not like the sales part.
You just wrote me privately while I was talking that the chat isn't working. So I just chatted something to everyone. If someone could just chat me back saying, just to test that from the group and see if it was just Lauren, because I don't know exactly how to do that.
Go in the Q&A and let Jonathan know that way through the Q&A if you tried something that's not working.
If I can get that side to work. Okay, I'm going to keep the screen up for just 1 second because I want to run a poll to everyone. So I'm launching the polls, just a little quick intro poll, 30 seconds, just a little bit of background of who's here and let us just kind of know a little bit about yourself. There was one answer, chat is disabled. Okay, Mark or David, I've got to figure out how to enable it because I didn't disable it. So we'll just have this poll up and I'll see if I can figure this out. I don't know why chat disable information. I don't know.
It might be in the settings through Zoom.
Yeah, well, it could be on the. Okay, we're going to end the poll and just move forward. So, Lauren, I'm going to just keep this screen up, and we're going to go to full screen in just a second. But I wanted everyone to see the 6 sessions. You always know I lead with this question, which is set the table for us. We're talking about advisory services and integrating them into these folks' practices. Why is this the last of the series before we pivot to let's look at next year, right? That's what our next one is. How does all the things that we've talked about over the first 4 sessions lead up to today, and how does that fit into the overall sequence of what you want to communicate to folks?
Well, I think that the first thing is everything that we talked about is really about communicating value in order for you to be able to stand out and differentiate your firm compared to other options. And in the beginning, we talked about the cleanup process, which got really tactical and granular. That was like a zoom in. And then we zoomed out, looking at marketing, pricing, and engaging clients from a value conversation and really leading with what is most important to them as opposed to what's most important to you. Now, by looking at that, those were the things to be able to bring in a client, price your services. Now we're looking at, okay, you got them in the door, you enrolled them. The next step is how do we continue to focus on value, because that's how we position ourselves in the beginning, and we want to have continuity throughout. And this is by adding advisory services as a way to really show clients how to apply the work that you do for them in order for them to make better decisions in their law firms based on the financials and other insights that you can give them. So the beginning was really engaging them, and now it's working with them once they have been engaged.
So, and we got the chat working. All you have to do, if anyone ever needs to know that, is you go under the chat and there's some little let everyone chat or don't let everyone chat. So we learned something today here. So this is a super hot topic, right? This is a hot take topic, as they would say in radio or in sports. Because, accounting professionals, are always kind of wanting to add this service. So let's get on the same page. Let's make sure that we're all on the same page across the group here and define what advisory services are. And then the sort of backup to that are the qualifiers, or the secondary is how you qualify. How do you know if you're qualified to offer the services?
Mm-hmm. So it's a 2-part question. And the first thing is that I did some research, and actually Intuit had a roundtable of firm owners to define the advisory services. And it's a really nice, simple definition that I was able to really stand behind. It's taking client challenges and applying strategies to create opportunities for your clients' growth. So you understand their challenges, you are showing them strategies, and those strategies create opportunities for clients' growth. That is a very simple definition of advisory services. And the other part of it is so many accounting professionals are already doing it, because you might be educating your clients about financials, or maybe you are having these unintended pick your brain sessions where they're asking you questions and they go on and on. So you find that 5-minute call becomes a 30-minute meeting, if not longer sometimes. It's possible that you're giving away information for free, or possibly you're meeting with them and having these discussions, but you don't know how to charge for it. So my guess is you probably are already doing it, and that we want to really be able to, instead of having it kind of hidden as something that you do, we want to bring it out and highlight it. And my feeling is, if you enjoy answering clients' questions, giving them insights, discussing options, watching them grow, then you are absolutely qualified. And the other part I'm going to say, which is a little bit unconventional, is that you do not need any service certifications to offer advisory services, because we have all witnessed someone with the quote unquote right credentials. And when you look at that person's work, you wonder how they actually are doing that, because you know that they've made some mistakes so that you could do a better job. So what you actually need is to understand your value and recognize your value of offering this to the clients, and then also doing it in a way where the clients see that what you have to offer is important, and they want to respect and follow through with your information and insights. So I want to just say, you probably already do it. You do not need additional credentials or any letters behind your name. You need to realize that you know more about the financials for your client's business than they do themselves. And by doing this, it's a value add.
I'm going to put a poll up here, and it's got a little typo, so I just noticed, so ignore the typo. It was a cut and paste. But could you just tell the group your definition again? I just want them to hear that definition one last time while I launch this poll.
So I will also go ahead and post it in the chat if you just want to take it and apply it. But basically, the definition, which is very, very simple, is you're taking clients' challenges, you're applying strategies, and it is creating opportunities for growth. So I will go ahead and see that. Oh, and thank you, Angela, for saying beautiful definition. And then we have some people that have gone ahead and used the chat. I love the fact that you guys are talking with us. So thank you for doing that.
And ask questions along the way. So the majority of the folks here are already offering, they're already offering and getting paid for. So kudos to them, but there's certainly a good portion of folks that they're still struggling. It's something they want to do or they don't know how to charge for it. So I'm so glad I made a comment on your first question and I held off because I knew it was coming later and I just couldn't remember exactly where. My comment was really appropriate, but here it is. What's motivating accounting professionals to add advisory service? So what's driving this in the business? And you know, that's sort of sparking them and poking them to think this way.
Well, if you go to CPA.com, they actually did a study and said that 60% of accounting professionals now offer advisory services. So basically, technology has made it easier to be able to offer that to your clients. You don't have to keep things on an Excel spreadsheet. There's a lot of different software apps out there that will give you insights in order for you to be able to relay that to your clients. And I believe that if you don't adapt and start offering some of this to be able to differentiate your firm from others, then you might go down the same route as travel agents, Blockbusters, and Kodak, where you will be replaced possibly by technology or offshore services. So that's some of the things. But the other side of it also, the benefits, is that it's a way of being able to communicate the value of someone engaging your firm as opposed to some other option. By offering advisory services, you're actually highlighting your insights, your intelligence, your expertise in what you know, as opposed to your technical skills. As a result of that, you're able to charge higher rates, you engage higher value clients, and the bottom line is it increases the lifetime value of a client.
Yeah, I think it's a far more interesting way to have a relationship with a client. Obviously, if you're just doing workflow and workflow automation, you know, with bookkeeping, it's a bit of a commodity, and there's a lot of profit to be gained if you do that well. But it's mechanical, and I think that as we start to think about more machines and software doing automated tasks for us, that the human element of it is really important. And I really think that the accounting community is being sort of pinched into this sort of workflow automation, architecture, almost IT support kind of mix. And then on top of that is sort of the advisory skills that once you have the engine in place, so what does it all mean? There was a question that came out from the group that said, what's the difference between advisory services and a management consulting? Are they interchangeable? I have my opinion, but what's yours, Lauren?
Well, To be honest, I'm not really sure what a management consultant is. So maybe I need to get that definition first and then I can answer it better.
Let me put it my way.
Yeah, please.
I think management consultant is a more sort of how do I say it, formalized word to say that they're affecting change management within an organization. So some of the big 5 accounting firms and other folks, Arthur Andersen back in the day, came in and said, hey, we're going to do change management. We're going to do management consultants, which essentially were engaged by management to change the behavioral effects of an organization to optimize some outcome. And essentially they're looking at the tech, the people, the business strategies, all those things combined and saying, here's my consultancy as to optimize that. Advisory services, I think, is a lighter version of a similar thing. And I think it's akin to a smaller office environment. So if you're part of a large CPA organization and you're, say, you know, I don't know, 50 CPAs or some large entity or bigger, the word management consulting kind of lends itself a little bit better because you're typically interacting with large organizations, and that's kind of what they can sink their teeth in when it's about change management and optimization. If you're dealing with really small businesses and essentially you're a stakeholder of your business and you're interacting with stakeholders of other small businesses, advisory services is very similar. You are looking at the tech, you are looking at the people, and you are looking at the outcome. So it's a similar approach, but I think it's couched in a way that's a little bit more attainable, manageable, and addressable to a smaller business community. And again, that's just my personal take on it. I'm sure some others may have a different opinion, but I think it's just opposed to the history of the word, which was big, you know, big 5 accounting, other management consulting firms that were doing large change management. So I think they're interchangeable, but they work for different sizes. Let's move on. So I'm a client, right? So I'm engaging one of these folks that are on this list. From your perspective, what are the qualities, you know, what are the characteristics and qualities that they're looking for in a trusted advisor?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the first thing is that they need to feel that they can trust you to be able to deliver on what they're hiring you to do. So that means that they see you as being credible and that they feel that you have the insights and the expertise to deliver on your promises. The other thing is that they are looking for solutions that are specific and relevant to their particular needs. As you know, there's a lot of overlap with law firms, but it might be that there's some nuances with different law firms depending on where they are in their growth path, as well as the size of the law firm, and maybe some other things. The next part that they're looking for, and this is really important, is that you want to be like Switzerland. You want to be neutral. You want to be able to give them insights, but you're not wedded to whether they agree with it or don't agree with it. You want to focus, trusted advisors focus on what's in a client's best interest as opposed to what's in your best interest. So you're giving information, but you're not wedded to whether they are in agreement or not in agreement. And then the last thing is that you want to help them with making changes that improve their law firm. So you want to be a catalyst for change and give them some things that they can go ahead and implement in order to really benefit from your services and what your firm has to offer. So those are the 4 things of trusted advisors. Is there's a trusted relationship because they see you as being credible. You're providing specific solutions that are relevant to their needs. You are offering neutral counsel. So if they don't agree with you, you're not getting all upset with them, and that you're helping them with assisting change.
Yeah, and I'm going to put a nuance on your first one, which is credible and trusted, is that they need to see you as an equal. It's really important, especially with upmarket professional services. They need to see you in your level of expertise, right? The credible and trusted, that's that piece. But the why behind it is that, you know, when lawyers, in particular managing partners, when you sit across the table, and I just did this last week, I was in an office and there's 7 attorneys in the room and I'm talking to each of them, and I walked in there and I basically in my head knew that I could operate their business more effectively than they could. Not the law services piece, but running of the law firm. And maybe I could, or maybe I couldn't, but what lien law does relative to that, I certainly felt that confidence, and they saw me as an expert and they saw me as an equal. And that leveled the dialogue. And that's really important when you're interacting with law firms, is that you kind of have to hold your ground with these lawyers, because they're going to ask very pointed, tough questions, because that's how they think. And you can't, you just have to know that's the cadence of their thought and their dialogue, is that they're very direct in their questioning, and you almost sometimes feel like you're in a deposition. My joke was, they all sat around the table and they walked in and I'm like, okay, it feels like we should negotiate something, because I was at a big conference room table and I made a joke, but that was the setting that we were in, and I had to, distill it, diffuse it down. We're going to do, okay, so now that we kind of have understanding what those clients are looking, what are the elements that you see, Laura, are critical in offering advisory services?
Well, I think that this is where you take what you just said, Jonathan, and you become an equal with your clients, is that you are, as an accounting professional, uniquely qualified to tell the story behind the numbers. And that means that you are curious about it. You see patterns that they can't see. You can interpret it in ways that they can't. And as a result of that, some of the things you want to look at as far as the elements is giving them some advice, being able to help them see a strategy or develop a strategy for moving forward, possibly offering a different perspective that goes into neutral counsel, being able to, because you're on the outside of the organization, you can give them a different perspective than if they were consulting with someone within the organization that might have some other hidden agendas. There's confirmation. If they want to move in a direction, you might be able to, based on the numbers, give them confirmation that this is a sound decision in order to move forward with. And the last thing is accountability, because even though accountability is pretty much a soft level of advisory services, it has a lot of impact. People are more likely to follow through when they have shared that desire with somebody else than when they're just committed to themselves and not working closely with anybody else towards on that particular path or goal.
Yeah, again, the little nuance that I've learned is to be very direct. You don't need to be mean or crass, but to be very direct, very pointed, and always have, your story backed by data or experience, right? And couch it many times when you give advice, and you guys all probably know this, the majority of you are already doing this, but it's lawyers in particular who are running law firms will listen very carefully when you say, other firms that I help and support do it this way and have seen success, right? That voice of experience, especially talking back to the crowd, is very influential in getting the ear and getting that lawyer to actually listen and do what you need them to do. But they won't do it unless, excuse me, pardon me. It's really hard to sneeze in the middle of a webinar. So they really won't do it unless they trust you and what you say has a lot of logic and along many of the perspectives you're doing. Another poll, this one again has a typo. I cut and paste on something and I obviously did it wrong. So I apologize for my poor typing typos, but this says, what's your confidence level in advisory services?
And as we're doing that, I want to tag on to what you were saying about direct. A way to be direct, especially this is important to know if you're a people pleaser, is you don't need to give a long drawn out explanation, because that actually waters down what you're saying and dilutes it. The other thing is, do not apologize. Do not apologize whatsoever or minimize what you have to offer. What you have to offer is important. And by doing that without apologizing, they will see you more as that equal and take what you say more seriously.
Yeah, totally. That's a really astute point. So the answer surprised me. The vast majority said, in terms of the confidence level, is I'm interested but need them more. So the group earlier said, hey, I'm providing these services, and that was the majority. But then there's this trepidation about, hey, I need to maybe shore some stuff up and feel more qualified. The vast majority, only 30% said, I got it, I'm 100% qualified. But everyone can learn. Everyone can learn. Even I can tell you, even when I sit in the seat, every day I learn more about things that I'm like, I can't believe I didn't know that 6 months ago. Wish I did. Okay. Um, what is the value add to a client meeting with you and receiving advisory advice? Like we talked about, like, what the services are and what they look for, but what's the value add back to the law firm or whatever client that these folks might have?
Mhm. Well, I think the first thing is that you need to be able to focus it from the client's perspective as far as the value add, as opposed to what you think it is. Because they're busy, and if they don't see it in a way that benefits them, they're not going to want to schedule meetings with you. So let's go ahead and start with that. But you want to focus on things that lead to long-term benefits for your clients. Some of them might be short-term, but you also want to be aware of the long-term benefits. So there's 3 different things that I wanted to share right off the bat. One is business insights. And let's just face it, you work with a variety of law firms. So you're able to, without giving away trade secrets, share inside knowledge about financials, business development. And because you're working with a variety of law firms, you might know something that's coming down the road for this particular law firm because you're already working with someone that's more mature or further along in the game, and you know that this might be a next step move. So you can give them some insights to possibly get there faster or avoid costly mistakes because you're working with law firms on all different parts of the growth cycle. The other thing is your expertise, is that you've gained a lot of useful information over the years, whether you've been a firm owner yourself or you've been working in somebody else's business, or the fact that you have a particular perspective and way of looking those things, and helping your clients understand how to apply the financials and the work that you're doing with them, given those as insights, is highly, highly valuable, because they might know what they want, but they don't actually know the way to achieve those results. And that's where you come in. But also the other part of it is so many law firms don't understand the business and the cash flow in the way that you do, and that they need you and your insights to be able to help them to really make better decisions and grow based on data as opposed to whim or just trying things but not having any supporting data to back it up. And then the last thing is that so much of the trend moving forward now is taking after the fact financials and work that you're doing with them and applying it to future focused goals. And that is really the sweet spot. If you can show these law firms how you can take the work that you're doing and help them achieve something that's important to them by giving them accurate data and insights, then that is going to be of high value. But the other thing is that I found that clients actually implement faster when they have someone else that's aware of their goals and their KPIs. And that is really the bottom line, is that you can help them get there faster and better than if they were doing it on their own.
I have one little point of clarification that you said. You said that they don't know their cash flow and their financials as well as you do. What they know is their cash flow. And this is the burden of the outside accounting professional. Lawyers are notorious for, in their head, counting their billable hours, kind of having a sense of their overhead, and running their businesses on instinct and gut. And what they don't understand is their financials. They really don't understand what a good client and a bad client is. They really don't understand how long it takes to collect and the cost of the length of collections. They don't understand how a retainer could mitigate collections and how evergreen retainers work. So the challenge for lawyers is they're stuck on cash because they've really never understood the mechanics of the business. Now that's really applicable to small law firms, micro law firms, but as you get to larger firms, they understand financials. But then it's a workflow problem about how you build better workflows to then gain insights about growth and managing cash flow. But they understand cash flow. It's to their detriment because they think they understand their business because they understand their cash flow. And that's an enormous opportunity to begin to work around that mindset to say, hey, I get that you think your cash flow is good, but look at all these problems that are causing how much work you're doing to get that cash flow. Okay, So what are some of the topics that you would discuss in an advisory meeting? And I'm really happy to hear from the crowd, especially those
I
of you
was
who are
just
doing
going
this.
to put that in the chat.
Yeah, there's
So,
some things, but we're going to talk about what we do, what we think is important, especially as it relates to law firms. I'm going to add that color, but Lauren, she has a long list that she put up. So what do you think is most important, Laura, when to consider in terms of what advisory services look like?
well, you and I went through the list yesterday so that you don't get the entire laundry list. But basically, we agreed that the full financial life cycle from onboarding to completion, the handling of money, reporting, where you stand on it, is hugely important and valuable to them. Another one, which I just added to the list because you mentioned it, is evergreen retainers for attorneys. That could be an advisory meeting topic for them. Let's talk about compensation tracking and reporting, which is hugely beneficial for multi-attorney law firms. Forecasting about expanding their firm. If with your help, they might be able to do it a year sooner than planned. I've seen that happen with another bookkeeping firm that was offering advisory services, is by having insights into the financials and budgeting. This particular law firm was able to expand into another location a year earlier than they originally planned. Also, there's the workflow, the tools, best practices to increase efficiency. Lien law is one of those best practices and tools that can be done. And then there is the trust accounting compliance, which I think is so important because, as you know, if their trust account is not accurate and they ever got audited, it could be serious for that law firm. So those are some of the things that we put on the top of the list.
Yeah, and so I would summarize it by this. Maybe a different way to think of it is the first level is all about workflow, automation, and efficiency, right? If you don't, and there's a whole consultative aspect to that about what tools need to be in place, what workflows need to be put in place for best practices, because bad workflows create bad data, right? The second is then just the modernization or the consistency of getting the right financials out and the right reports out. And then the last is insights, because remember, workflows create data, data creates insights, insights creates meaningful change. I cannot create meaningful change if I don't have good data. I can't get good data if I don't have good workflows. And I don't know if this is the right place to say this, but I'll say it because we had talked about it. Remember, whenever you're engaged as an accounting professional, there are one of three scenarios happening. They are outsourcing something that was insourced. They are fixing a problem, a bad accountant, someone who messed something up, or number three, they're starting a new firm. In all three of those scenarios, the first question is, how do we modernize the architecture to get the right data out? And you can't do that. So that's a very critical function. Then you can get into some of the, compliance with trust accounting. Evergreens are really important. These people don't want to use evergreens, and ping the group in the chat if you don't know what an evergreen retainer is. But they typically don't want to use evergreen retainers because they don't really know how to manage the workflow around it. And by the way, Lien Law just put some really awesome technology in to facilitate evergreen retainers. Okay, let's do a poll. It's kind of staging our next few questions. Other than it doesn't have a period, another typo. I'm very embarrassed by my poll typing. So what would you, who would you offer advisory services to? Should have a question mark.
I think that it's a great question, and I love seeing the responses that are coming up right now.
Yeah, I'm just hung up on my typos. Nearly 50. We're almost. Are we 34 seconds in? We got the group. So split 50-50 between all my clients and a select few of my clients. And a small percentage said I'm just uncertain, which is totally fine to be uncertain. That's a really, that's a really okay place to be in, and that's probably why you're at this webinar. Lauren, what are some of the Oh, you just put a resource up. Oh, it's probably what
I
your
did
next
put a
thing.
resource up.
Sorry. Well, you queued it early. Um, so as these accounting professionals move into advisory services, what are the tangible benefits? What's the value prop back to these attorneys or their clients or whoever they might be?
Well, one of the things I did put in the chat that I just want to say is my free resource for your advisory meeting guide. It's at businesssuccesssolution.com/advisor. And some of the benefits, I just want to say one thing before I go into the benefits, is that offering advisory services in the beginning takes courage, not confidence. So you might not feel very, very confident in the beginning as you're doing this, but you know the benefits. And it's similar to anything that you learn in the beginning where you're a little bit shaky and unsure at first, but it's an evolution. You get more confident over time. However, some of the tangible benefits for your clients is that they have better insights into their business because they're having you share insights about the financials. And as a result of that, they are making better decisions. The other thing is that there might be certain things that they want to achieve, and they can achieve those things quicker than if they didn't have you on their team. For example, like I said, one of my clients, she was able to help a law firm with budgeting, and they were able to do an expansion and build out a year earlier than they thought that they would be able to. The next thing is that you are helping them because you're helping them with the financials. It's going to be easier for them. They have more peace of mind. As a result of that, they might be able to reduce their work hours, increase compensation, maybe add to their team in order to get some of the workload off of their plate and onto a junior attorney. So that's something to think about, is that you might be able to help make things easier. And if they've been doing the financials themselves and they now have your firm, then that is something that is freeing up a lot of time for them as well. You are able to help them save money because of the fact that you might see redundancies or maybe unused subscriptions that they're paying out for, and you're helping them to close up some of those money leaks. Another thing is that you're helping them make money, put more money in their pocket, possibly by shortening the cycle between when an invoice is getting sent out and when they're getting collections. Also, maybe they're not doing as many write-offs, or there's other things that you might be doing that help with making more money. So those are some of the things to think about as far as the tangible benefits. Is they have a better command of their business. They're able to achieve things faster than if they were doing it themselves. You're making things easier for them. You might be helping them save money, and you will definitely be giving them insights to help them make more money.
Yeah, I'm going to say one little note, which is to augment, which is you're helping them to make decisions based on fact versus instinct, whether that's additional salary, this is a good client or bad client. And that resonates with them because everything they have to do as lawyers has to be rooted in some law and fact. Yet when they talk about their business, they're kind of just doing it off the cuff. Because they sort of have a sense of cash flow. So Lauren, you've done a lot of, you've helped a lot of accounting professionals transition from the sort of commoditized business of here's my, bookkeeping and reconciliation business to now expanding and doing advisory services. And what are some of the insights that you've noticed as people are kind of start adding that, or started this process?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that there's like 3 prongs to it. You need to look at the mindset, which is your mindset of whether you feel that you have the courage and you're qualified to offer insights about financials. Do you want to look at the strategy and how this fits into what you're already doing and your workflow with your clients? This means that you need to be able to carve out some time to work on your business, not just in it. And then there's the tactical steps of how does this actually work? What do I talk about? How often do I meet with somebody? And those are some things to think about. So it's 3 things: the mindset, the strategy, and the tactics. The other thing, which I mentioned a moment ago, is that implementing this, which might be new to you and a stretch for you, is going to take courage. The confidence comes next. And then the other part is understanding the more tactical parts of the strategy and how this works with what you're already doing, how to price it, how to be able to get it scheduled. Have them want to see the value so they're actually showing up for the meetings as opposed to blowing you off. So those are some of the things to really think of as far as how this might work with your accounting firm.
So it's really, I just want to come back to that point just for a second. So it's really to start as a mindset. Like, I think people start jumping into the tactics right away, but what you're coaching this group is saying, no, you've got to first start with your mindset and feel a sense of self in it before you can kind of move in. You said courage and then confidence, right? Is that strategy follow? So thinking of that, let's get tactical. Reminds me of Olivia Newton-John, all of a sudden. What are some of the tactical things that these folks can do, accounting professionals, relative to their ideal client profile?
So there's 3 questions that you might want to answer first as you're thinking about this. And I did put in the chat, what would keep you from offering advisory services? So that's something to be aware of. But the things that you want to ask and answer is, what's your expertise? What is it that you know really, really well and maybe do better than most other people, and understanding what your sweet spot is. The other thing is, now that you understand what your expertise is and what your sweet spot is, then understanding how that might benefit your clients so that you can then start to communicate the value of meeting with you. And then the third part is really having some awareness of how this all fits in with the client experience and the client journey with you. Because working with you is a journey. There's an evolution that happens as a result of them working with you. And you want to be able to really have some insights as to how this enhances the client experience. So those are 3 questions you want to ask yourself. And then comes the tactical parts of it, which are in the advisory meeting guide that I have as a free resource. So you want to think about agenda. What are the things that you would focus on when meeting with them? What are some of the topics you would go through? One of the topics that we didn't hit on, but you might want to have with all your clients, is really financials 101. You want to make sure that they understand the basics of the reports that you're giving them and what those things actually mean, so that they're utilizing the services that you're doing for them. The other thing that you want to see as far as a tactical step is communication. How do you communicate with your client during advisory services? Are you doing in-person meetings? Are you doing them on Zoom? Does that include email communications as well? So think about what communication means and maybe give them some guidelines so that they are respecting the boundaries as opposed to abusing them. The next thing is meeting frequency. How often do you meet with your clients for advisory sessions? Do you meet twice a year? Do you meet quarterly? Do you meet monthly? Do you meet weekly? It depends on that particular law firm, their needs, how fast they want to grow, and how big that law firm is. So meeting frequency is something to consider. And then the last thing is the investment. What is the investment for your advisory services? Because I want to let you know that sharing the insights, the application, in order for them to move forward and grow is probably the highest value of what you offer. This is the thing that differentiates you from other accounting firms. So those are some of the things you want to think about as far as the tactical steps is topics, how you communicate with them, frequency, and also how they will invest in this service with your firm.
I'm doing something off script here, and it's you'll see where I'm going because we're nearly at the end. But I wanted to share one thing with this group that is fairly intimate to Lean Law right now, which I think is applicable because we're talking. Part of this is to understand a law firm and a law firm's motivation. And when a law firm engages a new accounting service, it is not that far away from why they might engage Lean Law. So I wanted to share something with the group because it's about the mindset of the decision maker who's engaging you. So Lean Law just did, if the group has heard of Simon Sinek, he wrote a book called Start with Why, and he conceived this idea of the golden circle. And in the golden circle, and I'll post this TED Talk. If you've never seen it, you should go see it. I don't know if Lauren, you're familiar with it, but it says why, how, what. And most times people start with what we do, like the features of lien law, the comp tracking, time entry, but they really need to start with why. What's the motivation? And I just want to say this, what's the why behind lien law? Because it's the why behind the mindset of the economic buyer who is going to engage your accounting firm. What motivates them is the economic vitality of the law firm. It is their job to create the architecture such that they, in their own practice, but their other stakeholders, because they're co-ops, have the platform to realize their opportunity. That's it. I mean, it's about economic opportunity, economic loss. That's what they're thinking about. And it translates into what, for lien law, modern workflows that automate and make easy to manage the full life cycle of the client, right? Although that's what lien law does. That's the how, right? So we start with why. What's driving them? They're freaked out because they've got to run their practice and create the economic opportunity for themselves and their other stakeholders, because it's all about cash flow. And in today's law firm, lawyers are more transient than they've ever been. There's sort of a cultural change that it's okay to move from one law firm to another. That wasn't the case 50 years ago. And young lawyers will not tolerate being in stodgy law firms that they have to grind hours at the expense of some partner making money. So the what we do at lien law is just comp tracking. It's the features of our product. So when we're thinking about talking to our economic stakeholder, that thing, I'm trying to creep the why into it, because I want to have that emotional connection to lien law before we get down into the functional and tactical of how we actually operate. And I think this is applicable here. And I would encourage the group, as they think about advisory services, to start with why. What is the why that someone is engaging your services? And so, Lauren, I know that wasn't part of it, but we had an extra minute. So I wanted to just throw that to the group. And if anyone has any comments or questions. So Lauren, we're going to do two more quick polls before we're done. But the question for the group is, what's next? You, as always, have shared a lot of really great information for the group and professionals. So what can they do next to get moving?
Mm-hmm. Well, if you feel that you've gotten value from our conversation today, that you can take away one action step and immediately implement it, that is well worth your time, because this is time you took away from working in your business, and you're working on your business, getting those advanced moves, the insights, things that are going to raise the bar of what your accounting firm can offer attorneys. And if you want to be able to understand how to be able to raise your rates, work with better quality clients, and also be able to reduce your stress levels, not feel so overwhelmed all the time, then let's have a conversation. You can go to businesssuccesssolution.com/let's talk. And that is the first step to setting up a conversation with me about how to be able to double your income, working half the time. And once again, the link's in the chat, but it's businesssuccesssolution.com/let's talk.
Yeah, and I just launched a quick poll, and just to, we try not to make this a big plugging thing, but Lauren's awesome, and we have a great collaboration. So we asked this question, how interested are you in chatting with Lauren some more? So we'll give that for seconds, and then I have one other poll, and then we're going to wrap for the day if there's no other questions from the group. So I'll leave that open for another few seconds. Okay. Last question from me. Let's rate the webinar. What do you guys think? Lauren, while everyone's doing that, I, as always, appreciate this collaboration and this conversation and the 5 sessions. I look forward to our October session. The date will be October, what's the date? Let's get it right. October.
You had it on your first slide. I don't have it.
I got it. It's October 27th. So we will meet again in 6 weeks-ish. October 27th. Let me just end the poll. The topic will be how to make 2023 the best year ever, increase your market share, and raise your profit margin. Lauren just posted it in the chat, and you will all be invited to that. Lauren, I wish you a wonderful fall. I am so happy fall is here. We've had 27 days of 100-degree heat since August 1st, and it broke this today. So we are in the clear for a lovely fall. And to the group, thank you for your attendance, your participation, and being part of our community. And have a great day, everyone. All right, I'm going to end the session. See you, Lauren. Good talking to you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, everyone.